In the last video, Anea shared her testimony about how she came to know Jesus, and now I'm going to do the same. Um, you heard about how she came to know Jesus in just through kind of going to church all the time. So I kind of had a different experience in that I didn't grow up in the church like that. I would go to the church. I would go to church with my grandmother when I would visit. So, and once we left Gary, where I was born, then I would be going to church like a couple times a year, up until I got to be about 11 or 12. And right in around about 11 or 12, my 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 mom, I started asking all these questions, and my mom was like, "Okay, we got to find the church because I don't know nothing. I don't know what you're asking, boy. Like, I don't know what you're talking about." So she started. We started trying to find some churches, and we went to a Baptist church, we went to a mega church, we went to a smaller church, and eventually we went to this smaller church that my godmother had started going to because she met the pastors through working. So I go there, they ship us off to kids church, but I'm there with my god sister and my god brother. And my sister was younger, so she wasn't in with the teens. They might have let her in that day, but anyways, so we go there. Okay, and there was one person, love you, Miko, that was in there that was super friendly to us. She was so stinking nice. And her brother, I didn't even know he was her brother, was the like the leader over the kids' church. Mm-hmm. He was so stinking nice. It was a smaller group of kids, so he acknowledged that we were in existence when we sat down, and he was just the kindest dude, and he would become my mentor over the years. So what happened is we kept on going to this church at 12 or so, and I would hear the message of Jesus and stuff like that. But I guess I just, always assumed I was a Christian because I didn't have a ton of exposure to other ideas. But they were talking about being saved. And I just, I didn't really know what the heck it meant. But then, so I met this one kid. Obviously, we were the same age. So he's my exact same age now. But back then we were kids. And I met this kid, and he would call me from time to time, and we would talk and stuff like that. He was this super smart dude, right? He's a lawyer now. Like he stayed smart. Like we were in 6th grade, and he was doing like 7th grade schoolwork, like that. But he had this like odd like thing. Like he had like this. He probably doesn't think it, but he would just ask all these like uncomfortable questions, right? So, like we would be talking on the phone, and he'd be like, "Do you think?" He would be asking me questions about my god sister. He'd be like, "Do you think she's pretty?" And I'm like, "What?" She's like family. I don't know what you're talking about, because he had a crush on her. And anyways, but then he asked me. So that's to preface the fact that he kept on asking all these like kind of like intrusive kind of questions. He would ask like these kind of like intrusive questions, and he goes, "Are you saved?" And I'm like, I don't know. He was like, well, it's a yes or no question. Like, are you saved? He understood what it meant. I didn't know what it meant. He's like, well, do you believe in Jesus? I was like, well, yeah, but about this salvation save thing, I don't really know what that is. So eventually, like, I started thinking like, maybe that's something that I have to make a decision for. But we're talking about a 12, 13-year-old. And I was like, but I'm not going to do that unless I like actually know what I want to do, unless I'm really ready. And so I thought about it for a long time, like I'm not going to commit to God unless I'm really ready. And because it was just like a heavy decision. I mean, even for a 13-year-old, but that's where I was at. And then one day, while I was like sitting next to him and his family, he was reading a book during church. I told you the kid was smart. He would read books during service. So he's reading this book, and I'm sitting like on the edge of the pew with him and his family. And and the pastor was up talking, and then just like, I guess just like the culmination of like all of this like thought that I had been giving about the idea of kind of like whether or not I actually believed in Jesus. I didn't know everything at this point. I'm just like more or less saying like, I think like at the end of the day, I do believe in God. But as far as like committing myself to him, I like it's like I think I actually want to do that. And so, and I had been thinking about it and thinking about it for a while. It seemed like a very long time, but I was only like 14 at the time. But we're sitting down, and then just something just freaking came over me. And the pastor was speaking. I don't even know what she was talking about. Pastor was talking, and I'm just sitting there. So I'm sitting there next to this dude and his family, and then something just like hit me. And I just stood up in the middle of church. There was no altar call. There was nobody else up there talking but the pastor. And I just flat out interrupted her. I just got up and I just walked to her. And she wasn't like, sometimes, you just like, if a pastor is sitting
Jesus
there
right now. I know you're in the middle of
that's
a sermon,
exactly what I did.
But I need him right now.
That's exactly what I did.
Like,
I walked up there.
Excuse me.
I didn't say, I just walked up to her and I said, and I just looked at her and I said, I want to give my life to Jesus. And and she, understanding the moment, didn't push me away. She stopped whatever she was talking about at the time. And she allowed for me, now in hindsight, like having spoken and thinking of the different ways that could have gone, like I'm really grateful for her, because what she allowed for me to do was pivotal in my whole life. Like I was only 14, and I know that I've saw some videos where people are like kind of like discouraging allowing kids to make decisions like that. But like I haven't changed. I didn't change my mind. I was 14. I didn't know everything. But after that, like she prayed with me so that I can receive the Holy Spirit and the gift of tongues and all that kind of stuff. And and later I would be actually baptized. I don't know if it was that same year or the next year, but later I would actually be baptized in the water. And I would love to say like I've been walking with God like perfectly ever since, but I've not changed my mind about who's God, not changed my mind about the commitment that I made to him, and he's obviously, well, not obviously, but he has shown himself to be real throughout the years, and I've definitely grown from that place. But that was the day like that I gave my life to Christ. I don't remember the date. I barely remember the year, but I know that was like the day my whole life changed.